even though it looks like spring outside, I think it must be procrastination season, because I have been having so many conversations with clients, with friends, with students, with just random people about how they are struggling with procrastinating. And they're coming to me and saying, Julia, how do I stop procrastinating? What is going on here? Well, if this is you too, and you have been struggling to follow through on something you started, struggling to see something through to the end, struggling with keeping going on a goal or a dream or a task or a commitment that you want to finish or keep working on, then this talk today is going to be for you. We're going to talk about procrastination, why we do it, and then what to do about it. And this isn't going to be about setting timers. This isn't going to be about keeping a really strict schedule for yourself to make sure you do it. This is going to be really getting deeper into your psyche and understanding what's going on, and then what to do in your psyche instead that is going to help you overcome and move through that procrastination. But first, if you're new here, welcome to our incredible little corner on the internet. Take a second, introduce yourself in the comment section below. If you're back again, always good to have you. Special shout out to my shifters. Welcome here. And either way, my name is Julia Kristina, and I am a registered clinical therapist, a researcher, a coach, an author, and a speaker, and I help heart-centered humans break through the crap that is holding them back so that they can like themselves and their lives more every day. So you have a goal, you have a task, you have a commitment, you have something that you started or that you know that you need to do, but you keep putting it off, you keep avoiding it. You keep saying, I'll do this later, or I'll get going on this tomorrow, or I don't really feel like it, so I'll wait until I feel like it. And you know that you are procrastinating. So why do we do this in the first place? Well, if you are someone who procrastinates, I want you to know that there is nothing fundamentally wrong with you, that there is nothing broken about you, that all it means is that you have a human brain. And human brains are designed for kind of two contradictory things, but our primitive brain is designed to move us towards pleasure and away from pain, to seek things that feel good, that are enjoyable, and to avoid things that don't feel good and that aren't enjoyable. This primitive part of our brain is also designed to conserve energy, to not do things that are not absolutely necessary for our survival, because we need to conserve all of that energy in case our camp gets invaded with a herd of saber-toothed tigers, or there is a hurricane coming and you have to quickly pack up the village or the camp and move out of there as quickly as possible. These things that are life-threatening. So knowing that you have that ancient primitive part of your brain that is designed for your comfort and your survival. But then there's this other part of our brain that is also designed for our growth and for our expansion and for our movement and for making life not just about survival, but about thriving. And when we set goals, when we have intentions, when we have things that are important that we're working on, that we're putting effort into, this is that thriving part of it. Now, it might not feel like it's so much thriving if you're in school and putting off studying for an exam. You're like, how is this doing this exam going to contribute to my thriving? Or if you're at work and you're like putting off putting together a presentation or getting a report in because you're like, how is this going to contribute to my thriving? But really taking a step back and being like, okay, it might not feel very thrivey right now, but doing this for school is what it takes to complete this program, to make this move in my career, to build this career, to get this education. So that is part of my thriving. And when it comes to your job, getting things done and staying on top of tasks might not be the most thrivey thing in the moment, but this is what is keeping you in your job. This is what is continuing to give you a salary and giving you opportunities for promotion so that you can make more money and learn more things and be more successful and use your brain and your skills in bigger, better ways that stretch and expand you and that allow you to also then have the lifestyle that you want to have that is contributing to you're thriving. But understanding that you have this part of your brain that is kind of fighting against this other part of your brain, this brain that wants comfort and safety, and this brain that wants expansion and growth. And so you are having these competing parts of your brain, which then are creating these competing thoughts when it comes to taking the action that you want to be taking, but that you are procrastinating with or avoiding. And so starting with getting curious and asking yourself, what are the thoughts that are keeping me stuck? What are the thoughts that are preventing me from taking action? Because I do have these thoughts that I want to do this thing, I want to reach this goal, I want to get this assignment in, I want to contribute to my team at work in this way, I want to do a good job, and I want to, be up for a promotion. But you want all these things and you're like, but why am I not taking action? Why am I avoiding it? Why am I putting it off? Why do I leave things to the last minute? And looking at your brain and seeing like, oh, there's something else going on there. There are some unconscious competing thoughts. It's going to take too long. It's going to be too hard. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be difficult. It's going to require too much effort to sustain. What if I put in all this effort and it doesn't end up being successful, or it doesn't end up working out and I have to work even harder or do any more? What if it isn't what I expected it to be? All of these other competing thoughts that are keeping you from taking the action. So then making those unconscious thoughts more conscious and realizing that this is just your brain's way of trying to keep you safe and conserving energy and staying in that pleasure mode, because it's easier to do nothing than to do something. It's more comfortable to sit and scroll on our phones than it is to get up and open up the computer, or if you've got a workout goal, a health goal, to get up and get to the gym or put your workout video on or pick up your weights. It's so much easier to do these passive pleasure in the moment only activities than it is to do these things that are going to require effort, change, some discomfort, putting yourself out there in some way, using energy in some way. It's easier to not use that energy. The other thing that our brains do that keeps us in state of procrastination is our brains like to be dramatic. So thinking about this, when's the last time you were like, I really need to do this thing, but you're like, oh, it's going to be so hard and it's going to take so much time and it's going to be so difficult and it's not going to be fun. And your brain creates all this drama around it, which then makes you not want to do it. And then you put it off and you avoid it. And then you have that kind of sick pit feeling in your stomach because it's hanging over your head and you know you need to, but you're not doing it. And you keep kind of letting it just sort of linger there, dragging you down, stressing you out, making you feel anxious. But when's the last time you took a step back and you're like, okay, my brain is telling me it's going to be so terrible, it's going to be so hard, it's going to be so difficult, it's going to be so uncomfortable, it's going to require so much effort. But is it? Looking at all of these things that your brain has been over-dramatizing, is this true, or is this just an over-dramatization? Let me give you an example. There's a lot of people that make a lot of drama around standing in line. Standing in line for an event, standing in line at the chairlifts at the mountain. For those of you who know, I'm a big mountain enthusiast. Our whole family are snowboarders. We're up at the mountain lots. And, I've heard people be dramatic about, oh, there's such a long line, or, oh, I don't want to have to wait in line, or, oh, there's a traffic jam, and we create all this drama around it. But the way that I tame that drama for me when it comes to waiting or lineups, especially when I'm with someone else, is I'm like, okay, we could be sitting at a cafe or at a bar, at a restaurant, and having a conversation and enjoying each other's company. Or we could be standing here in this line. That's fine. It's not like, there's gusting winds or, screeching cats disrupting our peace or comfort. We're just standing here having a conversation. So, that dramatic part of my brain is like, oh, standing in line is so awful. Is it? Or is it just a way of existing that is probably pretty fine? Thinking about that when you're like, oh, that drive's going to be so long, I'm going to be so tired. I don't want to do that long drive. And being like, well, is it going to be so long and so awful? Or is it just going to be me sitting in a car where, I'll probably spend a lot of time sitting at my desk or sitting at the table or sitting in the living room, just sitting in a car. And yeah, mind you, if you're driving on like an expressway where there's lots of traffic, you're navigating a lot more, you have to be a lot more alert. It could be more involved in your brain, but it's just another thing that you're doing. And you can create more drama around it, or you could just see it in a more neutral way. If you're like, oh, I have to sit down and work on this report and I've got so much things to go through and so much data to look at and it's going to take so long, it's going to be so hard. Or you could be like, I'm just going to sit and read words on a computer and look at some charts and fill them out one thing at a time, get one section done at a time, work through it at a reasonable pace and just put one foot in front of the other and I will get it done. Do you see what the difference is there when we sort of recognize all of the drama that our brains are creating and then kind of come in as that sturdy, stable, wise grown-up and say, all right, just a second here. Is this as terrible, awful, difficult, uncomfortable as you are telling yourself that it is, or is it really not that big of a deal? The other thing about moving forward, completing tasks, working towards goals, fulfilling our dreams, is that no one ever promised that it would be easy, lovely, and delightful every step of the way. Part of being human, part of living an expressed life, part of living a full life and showing up and experiencing and expanding and learning and growing and achieving and accomplishing means that we sometimes have to do things that suck. That we're not entitled to it being easy and painless all the time. Usually when we're starting on a new goal, when we're taking on a task to get us to an outcome that we want, parts of it are going to suck. They're not going to be our favorite. They might not even always feel good. But then the question you have to ask yourself is, what do you want now? Which is usually pleasure and comfort and ease, versus what do you want most? What do you want now versus what do you want most? And if you consciously connect with what you want most, then accepting that along that journey towards what you want most, sometimes you have to do things that aren't the most fun, that aren't the easiest, that aren't the most pleasurable, that don't necessarily flow gently. And that's just part of it. Sometimes just accepting that in the journey towards the things that we want, we're going to experience resistance and discomfort and frustration helps us make it easier. It helps make it easier because we're not so put off or upset when things are difficult, when we have to move through the sucky parts, when we can embrace the suck and accept it as part of it. That's part of growing, that's part of expanding, that's part of living, that's part of loving, that's part of experiencing something more, creating something more, having something more than what you have now. So the next time your brain is tempted to go into procrastination, look at what those competing thoughts are that are trying to keep you in the status quo, trying to keep you stuck, trying to keep you in a state of avoidance. And then really look at, is this as dramatic? These thoughts that are trying to keep me where I am, do they need to be as dramatic as they are? And then also reflecting and asking yourself whether or not you are entitled to things being easy and straightforward and painless and comfortable all the time. Because no big goal or dream or aspiration or commitment ever promised that. If you want to work on being able to follow through more on the things that are important to you, I have a guide for you. It's called the Simple Steps to self-trust. And this is going to help you build a more secure and trusting relationship with yourself so that it doesn't feel so easy to just let yourself down. It doesn't feel so easy to just renege on a commitment that you made to yourself. When you have a sturdy relationship with yourself, you are more likely to show up for yourself. You are more likely to be good to yourself. You are more likely to fulfill the commitments that you have made to yourself, just like you would in any other loving, trusting relationship. So building that within yourself is going to help with this as well. Get that simple steps to self-trust and let me know in the comment section below what connected with you and what are you going to start today in working towards not what you want now, but what you want most. Good to be here with you. Until next time, take good care of yourself. Take good care of those around you. Bye for now.